But why is this mostly affecting women? Some of you are asking, and I think it's a good question. Well, there's just a lot of feminine energy, as I've already mentioned, all over this chart, okay? With, Taurus and Scorpio and these 12 houses, which takes on a very Neptunian, feminine, Piscean flair to it. But then you add to it, most importantly, we have Black Moon Lilith, the bad bitch of the zodiac, in Libra, feminine sign, in the United States natal 10th house. So who is she pissed off at? Who is she rebelling against? The authorities, masculine energy, or what she feels is in authority. There does seem to be some rebellion going on in this chart against whoever is presenting themselves in authority, whoever's bringing in the structure, the discipline, the rules. That 10th house can represent the masculine, the people in authority, maybe in the healthcare system, health authorities, health guidelines. And in Libra, it's saying, hey, we need to have some balance here. Balance having to do with hormones, fertility, and, maybe even weight management. But unfortunately, there's a rebellion against this. Black Moon Lilith in this 10th house can signify a rejection of personal responsibility, a rejection of having to regulate oneself or discipline oneself. It can also represent resenting correction, resenting consequences. How do we see this? With, this whole body positivity movement and a lot of women being told by their doctors that, they're not at a healthy weight. And it's just science, it's just fact. You would think that they would respect that, but instead they resent it. Same with the whole pro-abortion movement. A lot of these women resent people saying, hey, why don't you just use contraception or abstinence instead of being promiscuous and using abortion as birth control? That's resented. And the whole time this is happening, you got the sun in the United States natal 12th house saying, hey, look at what's going on with Big Pharma. Look what's going on with Big Med. Look what's going on with 1/3 of our population being on psychiatric drugs. As the moon is in the United States natal 6th house saying, hey, something ain't right here. Something's not on solid ground here. Well, what's going to happen with this? Some of you are thinking, what direction is this going in? Well, I'll tell you in a nutshell, Big Pharma is never going to be the same again. And that goes for Big Med as well. Neptune in Pisces is in the United States natal 4th house. 4th house, yet again, very feminine, very Cancerian, having to do with mothering, motherhood, fertility, growth. With Neptune and Saturn being in Pisces over the last almost 2.5 years, we're looking at a dissolving, restricting, limiting energy happening again in Pisces, a very, very feminine sign, very feminine energy, and again in a very feminine house. So what we're seeing is more, just another layer of energy. There's some pulling back or reducing or dissolving happening. And Saturn is in the United States natal 3rd house. So that is, again, more of this speaking, communicating, and a restriction with that. 4th house not only brings up matters of femininity, but also food and emotions. This energy in Pisces can bring on a spiritual, emotional tone to it, where people can be having psychic attacks, psychosomatic illnesses, again, misdiagnosed, misunderstood issues going on with health. And it can also bring up bloodborne, waterborne illnesses. Also find it interesting that this could be triggering issues with a pineal gland. And I don't know if any of you studied that, pineal glands being calcified, and how there are people who say that fluoride in the water calcifies your pineal gland. So again, we go back to, do we need to clean up our water supply, our water system? And or does this have to do with pharmaceuticals? Because here's another thing, a lot of people say that we are urinating a lot of the pharmaceuticals that people are on. It's going down the drain and it's getting recycled back into our water supply. So a lot of people are ingesting medication, whether they know it or not. And I'm not claiming to know exactly what's true, but it's something that I think as RFK and his MAHA movement gets going, we're going to be investigating this further and seeing exactly how clean our water supply is and how many of these pharmaceuticals have gotten into it, along with the fluoride that's there, among other things. Here's the other thing, is that a lot of Americans are unknowingly dealing with things like leaky gut. And even if they're eating healthy, a lot of them aren't, but, because the food supply is arguably no bueno, right? We've got a lot of chemicals in our food here that are illegal in Europe, but, they've gone buck wild under the FDA here in America. So people are having health problems and they're not even connecting the dots that it is related to their diet or even nutritional deficiencies. There are some people who they don't even know. Maybe they started cleaning up their diet and they are eating healthy, but the problem is the damage has been done. If you have a leaky gut, aka intestinal permeability, where there's been a breakdown of the lining of your intestinal gut, your ability to absorb nutrients is compromised. So some people trying to figure out, well, I'm trying to eat healthy now, but why am I not absorbing nutrients? And these are issues that can be brought up with this energy and the astrology, but it could also be impacting mental fog and confusion, where people have got to get clear about these things. Again, Pluto and Aquarius, I think, is going to get us there, but that's over the next 20 years. On a more emotional level, and I think I'll talk more about this, when Saturn finally gets out of Pisces next year, I think many of us are dealing with learning lessons about emotional and spiritual maturity. We've had some tough lessons, have we not, on toxic positivity, overgiving to one's own detriment. We've been confronted on escapism with the fentanyl crisis and all the people that have died because of that. This is a time where we've probably gotten some sober lessons about needing to come out of the emotional dark ages, which many of us were raised in. We're having to become more emotionally mature. And yeah, sober, and come to a place of understanding that there's a difference here. We can discern that some behaviors are just not good. It doesn't make us a bad person to indulge and partake in them, but we can separate that certain things are not good for us, and it doesn't necessarily make us bad people. But having the moral compass and the emotional maturity to transcend that, or basically transcend behavior that ultimately serves no ultimate good for all parties involved. If you want to know more about this energy, make sure to watch my last 2 videos. And if you want a private reading, I do all kinds of readings, and that includes body astrology if you want to know about your unique natal chart. Be blessed.